I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test, part 111, the Crimean War. It is on the page 42, while doing morning stretching. And if you participate in the morning stretching, register your own. So the Crimean War. From 1853 to 1856. So that was during the Victorian period. Britain fought with Turkey and France against Russia in the Crimean War. France, when had we the last mentioned confrontation with France? That was 1815, the French Wars. The troops of Wellington won at the Battle of Waterloo. And now 1853, so 40 years later. From 1853 until 1856, Britain fought with Turkey and France against Russia in the Crimean War. We have no map, so that is here. Here's Britain and here's Europe, and then there's a so here there's the Black Sea. So here's Europe, there's the Mediterranean Sea, here's the Black Sea, and there's the Crimea. So Britain fought with Turkey and France against Russia in the Crimean War. It was the first war to be extensively covered by the media through news stories and photographs. Expensive means something is expensive to buy, and extensively means in a large amount covered. It was the first war to be extensively covered by the media through news stories and photographs. We don't have a photograph or anything. So it was the first war which happened, and where many people were making photos. And the newspapers were writing about that. Let's go back to that and try to remember it this time. Yes, no number was there. That's maybe the reason. So at the time of the Bill of Rights, 1689. Newspapers developed, and in 1695, newspapers could publish without a government license. So 1695. At the end of the 17th century, not the late 1700s. So it's 100 years before the first Quaker groups formed formal anti-slavery groups. So it was the first war to be covered extensively through the media. The conditions were very poor, and many soldiers died from illness. They caught in the hospitals rather than from war wounds. They got fever, as far as I know, from mosquitoes. The mosquitoes were transmitting the infectious disease. But I'm not completely sure about it. The conditions were very poor for the soldiers, and many soldiers died from illnesses which were caught in hospitals. So I made something wrong. But I think the other thing is also true. In hospitals, the hospitals conditions weren't that good at that time. And yes, we will come to it. Florence Nightingale. Okay, we will come to that, so I don't need to talk now. Rather than from war wounds. So they did not die through the wounds they got in the battle. So many, but most people died through infections which we got in hospitals. What I just said about, I think it's yellow fever called. I think that is true, but many people caught it in the Crimean War. If not, what happened in multiple other wars which took place in this eastern part of Europe. But many died from infections they got in the hospitals, rather than from the wounds they received on the battle. Queen Victoria introduced the Victoria Cross medal during this war. It honors acts of valor by soldiers. I'm not completely sure what valor means. It means It means to something similar to be brave. It means to act even if the conditions are harsh, with courage, basically. That's it. So Queen Victoria introduced the Victoria Cross, and the Victoria Cross is a medal which can be given to people, or to soldiers who acted with valor. I don't know exactly where I think there are different types of a Queen Victoria Cross. Maybe there's also something for civilians or something. But the Queen Victoria Cross was introduced, and the Victoria Cross is a medal for people who have shown honor in the war, for soldiers. That was pretty short. Now I'm thinking if we're doing Florence Nightingale now, but I think we're going to do Florence Nightingale the next time. We're going to do now morning stretching completely. We will have on time. Maybe we will do the Crimean War again or something else, but nothing new anymore. So if you like, you can go to the next part of Florence Nightingale. But now the morning stretching. Then we relax standing wide apart. We're breathing in and going down. And we're breathing out. And breathing in. And out. And again in. And out. Again in. And out. Another round, breathe in. Out. And again in. Out. Now cross the legs. And we have done the opening exercise, and we're always breathing in through the nose into the mouth and out. Through the nose into the chest and out through the mouth. Now we're legs standing a bit over and shoulder wide apart. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And we're breathing out, we're going over to one side. And now breathe in through the nose, out the chest and out the rib cage. So breathe in. And out. And again in. And out into the middle. And breathe in. And out over to the other side. And breathe again in and out the rib cage. And out. And again in. And out of the middle. Next exercise, breathing again in. And on one hand slides down the leg and the other shoulder stays down. And breathe in. And out, rotating the arm over. And breathe again in and out the rib cage. And out. And again in. And out into the middle. And we breathe in. And out, the other hand slides down the leg and the shoulder stays down. And breathe in. And out into the arm over. And breathe in and out the rib cage. And out. And again in. And out, coming into the middle. And next exercise. Feet centered together. The aeronautic aerobatic aeroplane. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And we're breathing out and one hand comes down. So breathe in and reach to both hands. Breathe in and reach. And out. And again in. And out, one hand comes down. And breathe in and reach. And out. And breathe in. And out. One hand comes again down. And again in. And out. Breathe in. And for last time, one arm comes down. Breathing in and reaching. And out the arm again. And out. And the last two exercises. The legs are standing wide apart. They're breathing in. And out and hanging down. And breathe in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out, now we're going over to one leg. And again in. and out. And again in. And out over to the other leg. And breathe again in. And out. And again in. And out into the middle. And again in. And now we're coming slowly up with our own back and making it the top, the backwards shoulder. And now we're closing the feet and we're hanging again down. And breathe in. And out. And hang down. And breathe again in deep through the nose and the chest. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out we come slowly with our own back up and making it the top up backwards, shoulder roll. Now closing exercise, the chunk igniter, we're breathing in and going down. And out. And again in. And out. Again in. Out. Out. I breathe in and close the legs. And we're done with the morning stretching, and it's Crimean in English, not Crimea. So the Crimean War was fought on Crimea. So the Crimean War, it was 1853-1856, and where the British troops together with the French and Turkish fought against the Russian troops on the peninsula Crimea. And many people, and it was the first war, I think these are the important points which we want to tell us, the first war to be covered extensively by photographs. And more people died through infections we got in hospitals than now. It would be interesting, by the previous wars, how did the hospitals look then? It might be also because the amount of soldiers increased, and I think there were infectious diseases. Maybe that was another factor. But it would be possible, just if you take all these facts we have here and add a new one. But according to these facts, if many soldiers got, let's say, yellow fever, and it came through that into the hospitals, they can now receive even more diseases in the hospital, infections, and die still from more infections which they have received in hospitals than through shot wounds. So it is possible. So the question is, why in this war? And the question is, why hospitals? We haven't mentioned at any moment hospitals before during the wars. There were places where people got medical aid after the battle, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with that no medical aid and hospitals were existing in the first place, more or less. So I don't think this is just degeneration, it's a progress. That the people were in hospitals, just the hospitals weren't perfect. But I don't know much about it, but that's why I'm a little holding here. What if they did not have more or less any hospitals before? And now we're getting infections in the hospitals, but there weren't any hospitals at all before. There was some medical aid, but it was not the same. I'm pretty sure about that. And it could be still that we were in hospitals because we got diseases, which could be another factor why many people died in hospitals, because yellow fever is not in Britain or in France or in many other territories. It's more in regions where the temperatures are higher. And the Victoria Cross was introduced. So we will continue with Florence Nightingale, and when we will hear more about hospitals, I'm pretty sure about that, but maybe we will not talk a lot about it like we did with the Bessemer process or the horse-driven spinning wheel, or that just a carding machine was improved. But I'm pretty sure we will talk about improved hospital conditions, even though they won't tell us maybe how. And that lets us wonder and keep us curious, and we will then search for ourselves. So I thank you very much, and until the next time, the Florence Nightingale.